In this edition of Southern Newsweek, the day the America's Cup was Dunedin's Cup. Thousands turn out for Team New Zealand's last victory parade. A winter wonderland for some, but an icy nightmare for others. How the region coped with winter's first big snowfall. And a new arterial route linking central Queenstown with Frankton is being proposed. Kia ora, I'm Callum Proctor. A large crowd turned up to watch the America's Cup parade in Dunedin. Despite the threat of drizzle, the crowd enjoyed the chance to get up close to the famous trophy. Simon Henderson was there.
No amount of cold and rain would stop an enthusiastic crowd of thousands lining the streets of Dunedin to celebrate the America's Cup win.
Team New Zealand! Yeah!
Team New Zealand's my passion.
Young and old were out in force to show their support for the victorious team.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. It's like you'd had to wait till it actually happened. They're just brilliant, weren't they?
Just fantastic.
That was awesome, wasn't it?
The Dunedin Pipe Band led the parade through the crowds of people that lined the route, including not just from Dunedin, but also visitors as far away as Invercargill and Timaru. As the old mug arrived in the octagon, a helicopter flew overhead to rain confetti on the crowd. Tahu Portaki began the official welcome with a pōwhiri, then Mayor Dave Cull spoke, emphasising the local companies that contributed to the success of the Cup.
A small part that our city played in this effort, local companies like Animation Research, Igtimi and the Bison Group.
Grant Dalton greeted the crowd with an emphatic message of thanks.
Dunedin, thank you. You are amazing. You know, we've been to Auckland and a lot of us are from there. I know, don't hold that against us too much. We've been to Wellington and that was amazing too. We've been to Christchurch yesterday, that was just so cool. But I don't think I've heard as much noise as when we came here.
Simon Henderson for the South Today.
Immigration Minister Michael Woodhouse believes his Immigration Act changes might lead to pay rises for the hospitality sector. And Woodhouse told Southern Newsweek it will be more difficult for hospitality employers to find migrant workers, but he's unapologetic. Mina Amso reports.
From the middle of next month, new immigration laws will mean a skilled migrant worker will have to earn over $73,000 a year to be automatically granted residence in New Zealand. Hospitality workers generally earn far less than $73,000, but Immigration Minister Michael Woodhouse believes raising the bar for employers wanting to retain skilled migrants could flow on to better wages for all.
It is possible that wages will go up.
However, Labour immigration spokesperson Ian Lees-Galloway is concerned migrant workers could be exploited as a result. Labour say they have seen examples already in New Zealand where employers are offering high salaries to make visa applications more attractive as far as Immigration New Zealand is concerned, but later demanding the employee to pay back some of that money.
And if the migrant doesn't pay the money back, then they threaten to terminate their employment. And if that happens, usually the person's visa becomes invalid and they are then threatened with being sent home or deported.
While it's not a common occurrence, Labour says it might be more frequent with the new salary threshold. Woodhouse believes employers in the hospitality sector not prepared to increase wages will find it tough finding foreign workers to do the work.
And I make no apology for the fact that employers are going to find it a bit tougher to get that overseas workforce.
Tourism Minister Paula Bennett believes the new rules will benefit the tourism sector.
What we've done is really sensible and fair to everyone. So fair to those workers that are coming in temporarily and fair to businesses.
But I think it's important to recognise that it is a minimum wage. I would encourage employers, if they can afford to and they want to reward their staff, to pay them above that. Certainly in a competitive labour market, that's what they should be doing.
Woodhouse says the policy might be tweaked in the coming months depending on the impact it is having, be it positive or otherwise. Mina Amso, The South Today.
Much of the lower South Island received a large snowfall last Tuesday night, which made travel difficult for people in a number of towns. Cars were abandoned as many southern residents chose to walk to work, and children made the most of the snowy conditions. Mina Amso took a look at some of the most affected areas.
The hill suburbs of Dunedin, including Waikari and Roslyn, received a blanketing of snow, making it difficult for many people to get to work.
Oh, well, there's a bit of snow. I just went to walk to work and there was no one there. They couldn't get out of the drive, so no work today.
So work's cancelled and I'll just go for a frolic and see our lovely city covered in snow.
Weather conditions also proved treacherous for vehicles, with some accidents and other vehicles abandoned on the side of the road. Some of the white powder even made it down to the low-lying streets of South Dunedin, out to St Clair. Other southern areas, including Balclutha, also were dosed in white, lowering the temperatures for a number of farm animals. And for some in Queenstown, the conditions made it tricky getting out of the steep driveways this morning.
Non-appropriate winter footwear.
But even with the freezing temperatures, there were children determined to make the most of it. Snow plows were busy making way for motorists around the region, and drivers needed to take extra care on steep roads and hills where snow and ice remains. While some drivers ventured out, many left their cars at home or on the streets, safely parked under a layer of snow. Central Queenstown got just a light dusting of snow, but high parts of the town like Fernhole, Arthurs Point and Arrowtown were covered with snow. Mina Amso, The South Today.
A year after the doors opened, the Wanaka Recreation Centre is going from strength to strength. The facility's team leader says almost 25,000 users have passed through the multi-million-dollar facility since it was opened last year.
What a difference a year makes, from construction zone to a fully operational multi-use centre. The Wanaka Recreation Centre celebrated its one-year anniversary by holding an open day on Saturday. The centre's team leader, Angie Calder, says the first year has exceeded expectations, with more than 24,000 users in that first year.
It's been fantastic. We've had such a great year. So many sports, so many recreation users coming in, casual bookings, all sorts of clubs, as well as Rotary Conference here and a couple of plunket days and sail days. So the use has been varied and pretty awesome. So we're pretty stoked.
Calder says they're now turning their attention to the opening of the new $12 million pool, which is still on track to open in March next year.
So the construction's coming along nicely and we're all looking forward to that. But look, we just need to build on what we've already achieved and keep growing that. So for the clubs, the first year and for our relationship, it's just been building, understanding what everybody needs and hopefully we can help clubs grow their numbers and have more tournaments, more people, more active, more often. That's what we're here for.
Calder says since the opening, there have been a number of suggestions from the public about what other services they would like to see at the recreation centre. And a health and fitness centre was a popular choice, although she says nothing has been confirmed as yet. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
A new arterial route linking the Queenstown town centre with Frankton is being proposed by the Queenstown Lakes District Council. The arterial is one aspect of what the council describes as its master plan for development over the next 30 years. Here's Mina Amso.
The master plan outlined by the Queenstown Lakes District Council today is designed to connect all the town's major infrastructure projects together to ensure that they are carried out in an integrated way. The council describes the plan as ambitious. And that certainly applies to the idea of a new arterial link between the town centre and Frankton. It would run parallel to the existing and at times congested Frankton Road, but at a higher elevation. Mayor Jim Bolt says the new arterial would present the community with a set of challenges that would need careful consideration. Other ideas listed as preferred options by the council, including establishing a community heart for Queenstown. The public is now being invited to make its views known to the council. Full details are on the council's website. I'm Mina Amso for The South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, a lack of funding causes staff cuts at Rape Crisis Dunedin. And some young designers help with plans for a new community skate park in Lawrence. Welcome back. Two staff members of the small team at Rape Crisis Dunedin have not had contracts renewed due to uncertainty with Ministry of Social Development funding. In a statement released to media, the long-running organisation says it's shutting its doors on Fridays and staff members won't be available to take phone calls either.
Rape Crisis Dunedin has been working with the victims of sexual violence since around 1980. And the organisation's crisis phone line first went live in 1981. However, the Moray Place office is now needing to cut its services by closing on Fridays.
The reason that we've had to take these actions is because our contract ended on the 30th of June, so that was Friday last week, and unfortunately we just don't have the funds at the moment to be able to cover office staff on a Friday.
Rape Crisis Dunedin media liaison Anna Hoek-Sims says they attribute this to uncertainty in funding from the Ministry of Social Development.
Do you think that the not receiving a contract is politically motivated because of your stance on not sharing information?
I would like to think that it's not politically motivated. We have been told that we will be receiving a letter shortly. It's meant to arrive this week, but we haven't yet got anything yet. The reason that we've had to take these actions is because our contract ended on the 30th of June, so that was Friday last week, and unfortunately we just don't have the funds at the moment to be able to cover office staff on a Friday.
The contract from MSD for July 2017 onwards has not yet been received, and the previous contract expired on the 30th of June, resulting in the loss of 2 jobs. The Ministry of Social Development was approached by the South Today for comment this morning. Rape Crisis Dunedin will only be open from Monday to Thursday, 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. However, clients are still able to use the phone support line 24/7. Rape Crisis is among the organisations who are unhappy with the Ministry of Social Development demanding statistics that identify clients. Daryl Baser, the South Today.
Enterprising Lawrence school children have come up with a productive way to entertain themselves and also improve their town. They've enlisted the help of their community to build a skate park.
A group of school children in Lawrence have surprised teachers and community members by kicking off a plan to start a skate park in their hometown. Last week, a group of 10 pupils from Lawrence Area School wrote a letter to their local community asking for support to build a skate park.
And they came up with the idea of writing to the council, and they've been writing letters ever since.
Since then, the pupils have hosted a public meeting and managed to get 10 adults to form a committee to fundraise and organise the park.
I think they've got some real momentum that was quite unexpected, and I think that they've made real headway with a project that's been tried before, and it's exciting to see that they've got such a positive response.
Information provided to them by Dallas Storer, the man behind neighbouring town Kaitangata's skate park, indicates the park could cost up to $100,000 to build. But the children are not worried.
Do you guys think that you can raise that much money?
Yeah. Well, we are a very good town and very supportive, so yes. So probably, yeah.
They hope that the park will be built in little over a year.
Or under a year. Yeah. Probably. Under or over. Yeah. We're hoping to get it done in between maybe 2 years. Yeah.
The children see a skate park as a necessity as they have to resort to skating and scootering on the footpaths in town.
Yeah, and keep scooters off the streets. Yeah, because we've always been growled at for going across the driveways and just about got hit by a car one time.
The school has shown its support to the group by providing some land to build the park, granted the committee is able to come under an incorporated society.
Well, there's a couple of community groups that we'll approach about that to see whether or not they would be interested in us coming under their umbrella, and then it will be setting up bank accounts and starting some fundraising.
The committee appointed Gillian May as the chairwoman and Sarah McTavish as the secretary, and the group is still on the lookout for a treasurer to help apply for grants and fundraising. I'm Samuel White for the South Today.
After the break on Southern Newsweek, the council meets to clarify just who can and can't sell alcohol to Dunedin students and why Gore Lions Club is hoping to raise more than $200,000. Welcome back. A Dunedin City Council committee hearing has discussed the University of Otago's objection to the sale of alcohol at night and day in North Dunedin. Also tabled for discussion was the definition of grocery stores versus convenience stores and information about the categorisation of products sold.
Currently, Night and Day in North Dunedin is licensed to sell alcohol. They are looking for a renewal of that licence, but they're encountering roadblocks in the form of objections from the University of Otago.
Some of the issues from Regent Night and Day may not be to the same extent as supermarkets, but we still believe that we do have a responsibility to make what these outlets are actually allowing to occur within our student population to be made.
The university expressed concerns around the proliferation of outlets in certain areas of Dunedin licensed to sell alcohol between the hours of 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Karen Thompson, Director of Student Services, says Campus Watch has referred 41 inebriated students to the proctor so far this year, while 159 students have been admitted to the emergency department for intoxication.
So these are young people who have got to the stage where they're actually in such a state that they've had to be taken to hospital via ambulance and often have undergone various procedures to help them to recover.
There was some argument around the definitions of convenience stores, dairies and grocery stores, and discussion around Night and Day's primary revenue source.
So are you saying it's might be dairy or it might be convenience store, or is it one or the other?
I think the line between a dairy and a convenience store is blurred, but certainly the line between a convenience store and a grocery is not.
Medical Officer Keith Reid's concern was whether the application was supported by the required information to establish eligibility for a licence. Currently 5 stores classified as dairies are licensed to sell alcohol in Dunedin. Applicant Denise Lane told the committee there was no difference between these shops and her store. She said the photos licensing inspector Tony Mole presented were not a fair representation as they were taken of Night and Day's shelves before next delivery. Mole's conclusion was the shop is a convenience store and not a grocery store. The committee's decision is reserved. Roselle LeBone, The South Today.
Gore host Lions is embarking on a project of epic proportions, building 2 3-bedroom transportable houses. It's a fundraising project which aims to raise more than $200,000.
Gore host Lions Club President Peter Goodyear says 8 or 9 of the club's 30 members are tradesmen, meaning the building of 2 houses is a very achievable goal. But they're still asking for help.
From here we're going to approach businesses to supply products for these units to be built. Our Gore host Lions Club is quite builder orientated at the moment, so we've got a lot of talent there, but we will be calling on all the builders and tradesmen in the Gore area to help us out, so it'll be a real community project.
Goodyear says the KiwiCan program is a very positive and worthwhile scheme. 2 transportable houses are to be built on a section in Ardwick Street and will feature 3 bedrooms and a mezzanine storage area.
We hope to get it underway in the next fortnight, as soon as we get materials on site, and we hope to have it all over and done with in approximately 3 months. Then they'll be ready for auction.
He says the club is to approach real estate agents in the district to market the houses, with the goal of selling them for at least $120,000 each. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
Renovations to the Bannockburn Coronation Hall are now close to completion. Southern Newsweek was there to look at the progress.
The local Coronation Hall in Bannockburn is a step closer to coming back in use thanks to funding from the Otago Community Trust. A donation of more than $44,000 was approved to help the last stages of renovating the community hall. During renovations, it had become apparent that much more of the roof had to be replaced than first thought. Kerry Stanton-Herbert of Bannockburn is ecstatic to receive the additional funding.
It wasn't really very serviceable. We had to put everything into big plastic boxes because we just had mice running rampant through the place. We couldn't get on top. I'd come in some days and there'd be a starling nesting inside. So it was nice now to have it sort of vermin-proof as well.
Otago Community Trust Chief Executive Barbara Brigida said she was pleased that the Trust was able to help complete the project. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
Waitaki Boys High School held St Kevin's College scoreless in their inter-school First 15 clash for the first time in 22 years. The annual event took place at the Whitestone Contracting Stadium last Friday.
Waitaki retained the Leo O'Malley Trophy, affectionately known as the Peanut, after a 29-0 win against St Kevin's. The last time St Kevin's had failed to score a point in the inter-school match was in 1995, when the team went down 3-0. Waitaki prop Tonga Malafu barrelled his way through the St Kevin's defence after a few minutes, and Kinzit slotted the conversion, putting Waitaki ahead 7-0. Halfback Thomas Hutton had a strong game for Waitaki, adding another try at the 15-minute mark, following a solid scrum. This was converted, taking the lead to 14-0. St Kevin's was starved of the ball for much of the first half, but when the side did have possession, they were unable to capitalise on limited chances. While St Kevin's defended well in patches, the team was unable to stop Waitaki's hooker latching onto an errant pass on the stroke of half-time and sprinting away for a 60-metre intercept try, which Kinzit converted, bringing the lead at half-time to 21-0. Playing with a helpful wind behind it in the second half, St Kevin's improved on attack and pressured the Waitaki defence through enterprising play, but poor handling let St Kevin's down. The final score, Waitaki 29, St Kevin's 0. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
And that's it for Southern Newsweek this week. Get online and check us out on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, or you can keep up with Southern News via our website, channel39.co.nz. I'm Callum Proctor. Thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.